Alright, avid scholars, this should be our last video for today. Probably for the week, I promise. I know there are a lot of videos, but I just wanted to make sure that I'm making things as clear as possible. So, attached on this last post that I'm going to submit, you will see a schedule that looks like this. It just has a little bit of a pacing guide so that you could see what you should be doing each day. And I also have an inspirational quote if you haven't seen it from my 7i class, but it says, "There is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs." I like that quote because I know you're working really hard, and I just want to remind you that your hard work will pay off in the future. Now, the scholar goal for the week is to contact each teacher at least once per week through a comment, an email, or showing up to a Zoom. So just make sure you're meeting that school goal as best as possible. Now, I'm not going to cover a lot of this information because if you watched our last video about the weekly logs, that really covers most of this information. But I just want to point out a few things. One is you'll notice in green here I have some Zoom sessions. I am going to ask that tomorrow you log on to our Zoom session for participation points at 2:00 p.m. This one will be really important so that we could clarify some things that might feel a little confusing. And then also we're going to have our first tutorial tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Not tomorrow, sorry, Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. And that same day, by the way, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in this video, so I'm going to move on for right now. But the purpose of this video specifically is to talk in detail about these tutorials and what you're supposed to turn in when it comes to the TRF and the Jamboard. And then on Wednesday, at the same day, I will have an optional office hour. If you have any personal questions or clarifications, or if you just want to quickly talk to me, then I'll have the office hours that day. Okay, so let's get into the conversation about Zoom TRFs and Jamboards and what they are. Before, in our Avid Excel class, we would do scholar groups, and you weren't supposed to do tutorials until next year as 8th graders. But because of all the changes that are happening, and because I don't want to add more work on your load than is necessary at this point, we're going to practice tutorials. So the main difference with tutorials is that you get to choose it for any academic class. So your class could be, you could choose it on English, math, science, history, and I think I covered all the academic ones. So just make sure you're choosing one of your classes, and you should be thinking, what's something that I need to get extra help on? Maybe you're working on a math worksheet and you don't understand the problem. Maybe you're looking at a science task and there's one concept that you don't really understand. Whatever the case is, you start thinking about one, and then you are going to get ready to participate in a tutorial for Wednesday. So on Wednesday, when it comes to the 12:30 p.m. sign on, we're all going to sign in with our tutors. They will have the small groups, and then you're going to take turns asking your questions, and you'll help each other answer them. I'm going to complete an example one. So like I was telling you, you should see this already assigned. It's called Period 2, Week 2 Zoom TRF. So if you go to the 10 o'clock post this morning, that's where you will see it. So you kind of have 2 steps to take. So if you look at here, one, it says a little Google form. So you need to fill it out by just typing in your first and last name. I'm going to type one in as an example. Your self-read teacher, that's me. So you would put my name. Okay, then tell me what class or subject you're going to prepare your tutorial for. My example is going to be about 7i, so I would just fill in 7i. Then you're going to say, do you want to review the topic or do you need help? So I'm going to put help, and then tell me who teaches that class. So maybe you have Miss Lauda for 7i, so you put Miss Lauda's name. Okay, then tell me what's your current grade in that class. So maybe you have a B, and then what's your percent? Maybe it's an 86%. in Miss Lauda's class. Okay, here it tells you what's your original problem. So we want to know exactly what does your problem say. So for my example, I'm going to use the assignment that you guys were given this week, because I know that most 7th graders were given a similar assignment where you're supposed to read chapter 1 for Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. So maybe as I'm completing my homework and I read the first assignment for the day, maybe as I'm reading it, I really don't understand a certain point in the story. So I could always choose that point, but I think for now, I'm going to choose one of these questions. So maybe I got a little stuck with this question where it says, why is the land so important? So that is my original question. So I would type that here under original question. So the original question is, why is the land so important to the Logan family? Now here, I want to know, where did I find my original problem? So in my case, I found it on Google Classroom, but I want to be specific, like what's the assignment title? So I'm going to put Google Classroom, and maybe the assignment was called Chapter 1 Notes. Okay, so whatever it's called. Now, don't submit it yet because now there's part 2. So I would leave all of this filled out, and then I would open part 2, the assignment. So if I go, sorry, let me go to the right page. Here, there's a part 2 for a Jamboard. So if I open this, the Jamboard looks like this. It's basically asking me 2 of the same questions that were on the form. So it says the original problem. Remember that the original problem was, what is my teacher asking me? And I already typed it in here. So all I have to do is really copy this, and then I'm going to paste it here with a sticky note. So I'm going to paste it, and then I'm going to save it. Okay, so that's all I have to do. Now I have my original problem here. Why is the land so important to the Logan family? Now, source of the problem, same thing. That's on my form over here, so I just have to copy it. Then I'm getting a sticky note. You can change the colors if you want. Paste it here. And then I want to move it to make sure it's here. Now for tutorial work, this is where you should be showing us like what you're trying to do to solve the answer. So here's where, like, if it's like English, maybe just tell me what you think the answer is so far. So it would say like, I think that the land is important to the family because. So here's where you tell me what you think about the problem. Even more specifically, you can tell me like on page, tell me the page it mentions. Okay, so then you're going to try to solve the problem here. Tell us why you think that. You can have more than one notes. You could also even write on this. So if you look here on the left-hand side, it tells you you have a pen feature. So that way you can write directly on this if you want to take your notes. Even if you wanted to show us different colors to show us different steps, that's an option. It also has, like, you know, different qualities. So maybe you want to brush or highlight. That's up to you. And then you even have the option of adding an image. So if you wanted to add an image, that'd be helpful. Like maybe you can show us a picture of your problem or a note or something that will be helpful to you solve your problems. Okay, so once you have this ready, you are going to submit this. So you would turn this in. And then for this one, don't turn it in until after the tutorial. So on Wednesday, when it's time to log on for the tutorial, have this page open and then just be ready to share it so that people can see your question. It is important that you try to use a Chromebook or a laptop because that way you're able to, like, you know, work on these features a little bit more. But if that's not a possibility for you, then that's okay. Log onto your phone, whatever is easiest, but it would just be best if you could. Here's an example of what a math problem would look like. So as you can see, this person said the following questions are: what type of function is it? how do you know? What is the equation of that function? So here, this person was working through, and then the question is like, what's the next step? So you can kind of see like the work that's been done for math as well. Okay, so remember that it could be any academic subject. So to remind you, that could be English, any of your English classes, 7i or companion. It could be math, it could be history, and it could be science. So just make sure that you are completing both steps, both the Jamboard and both the TRF, and just make sure you're trying your best, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so thank you for listening. If you have questions, just post them directly on this discussion board. That way I can answer them all at once and other people could see the same questions that you had. Thank you.